What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're doing our Philadelphia Eagles 7-round 2025 NFL mock draft. I'm finally wrapping up all these team-based ones. If you guys are looking over at my page, you'll see that I'm probably posting like 7 videos in this day because my dumbass procrastinated just a little bit too much. And so I made you guys a promise. I'm keeping to it. You guys love this series, and so we're going to be doing one of these after free agency as well. I'm going to do my best. I'm probably not going to do one for every single team just because, but I'm going to be able to get maybe some guys to come on the show and collaborate. Maybe we can get some C4 up in here. We've been trying to do that for the past couple of years. But if you guys are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Below my face is my board. It is completely honest, and it is also not predictive. These are the players that I love in the order that I love them. So let's get into this. Feel free to follow me over on X as well, and support me by using code HAILMARY over at UnderDog Fantasy. You get up to $60, or I get $60. You get up to $1,000 in bonus credit when you do sign up. Live mock draft, so we're going to see who falls. I ended up taking a swallow at the worst time, pause. But regardless, we have a lot of really intriguing options here that I would love to talk about. And so let's end up going to the depth chart on ourlads.com. And so yeah, you're going to see a bunch of ads here because they love to spam the ads. But regardless, quarterback Jalen Hurts. I've had my issues with Jalen, but you know, he's a very, very good quarterback. I wanted him to my Steelers when he was coming out, so it is what it is. But shout out to Tanner McKee, the GOAT himself. Unfortunately, Jalen Hurts winning the Super Bowl takes out any opportunity for Tanner McKee to get a chance to legitimately start. But I will say, I think Tanner McKee should be traded to another team because I think he should try to compete to start. Could end up getting you guys some extra draft capital as well. Saquon Barkley, the GOAT, signed a very lucrative extension. I would say he deserves it, but I mean, man, you're going to be hitching your wagon to Saquon APY-wise as if he is like, it ended up, I think, averaging out to being 17 a year. And I think that's the whole entire point of it, is that like this whole contract should be 17 APY. But regardless, you are kind of expecting Saquon to remain as effective for the next like 4 years. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but hoping it is because he's an amazing player. Kenny Gainwell, I think he ends up coming back. There's not going to be much traction out there on the market, but maybe we can end up checking on day 3 for somebody. Will Shipley, I want him to take that big step up as well. But you look at tight end, Dallas Goedert's probably going to be getting a small extension. Based on the contracts that are going around right now, could see it probably on like a 1 or 2 year for like 10 to 20, maybe. Obviously, that could be like a 220, 10 guaranteed type of thing. Could be a 330 with 20 guaranteed. You guys know the deal, right? Then tight end Grant Calcaterra. I still think that tight end 2 spot is a big issue. If I were you, I would trade a 3rd or a 4th right now to be able to go and get tight end Michael Mayer from the Raiders. I'd do that in a heartbeat. But I mean, that's just me. You look at the offensive line, Lane Johnson, the GOAT, you're probably going to still want somebody to be the heir apparent. Mekhi Becton's going to just fetch too much on the market. I don't think he's going to remain, but you do have Tyler Steen and Trevor Keegan to fill that role. I don't think that's a guarantee, but I do think that, you know, you're probably going to take another interior offensive lineman on day 3 just to continue reinforcing the backups and continue developing guys. Shout out to Cam Jurgens, Beef Jurgens. He's probably going to get an extension this summer. Landon Dickerson, obviously a really damn good player, and Jordan Mailata, one of the best best tackles in the NFL. And then you look at the wide receiver core, Jahan Dotson, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, a really good trio. Jahan Dotson gets way too much shit. Honestly, he's a very, very good wide receiver 3. Like, the dude ended up having a a bomb rookie year. And, you know, so he has the talent, but ended up slipping up a little bit, but ended up being really, really solid for what you guys ended up paying for him, which is, you know, it's like, oh, it was in a 3rd. Like, no, you guys got like a 5th in return. It's essentially like a 4th in value. But Johnny Wilson, still going to be someone who I see having a very positive trajectory, and I'm excited to see it. Anaya Smith, I don't think he's going to be staying. If you guys end up continuing to draft legitimately good receivers. No disrespect, I just was never a believer in Tyler Steen. Braden Covey, good returner, could end up being retained because he's an RFA, but we'll see what happens there. Defensively, Milton Williams, he's on his way out, going to make a ton of money. I personally love Moro Jomo and Thomas Booker. Like, I think that you don't need to invest in defensive interior early. I know that because you're so heavy into the nickel packages, you do have odd front defensive ends. And so Jordan Davis is not necessarily a consistent nickel. I want him to take far more snap percentage. And with Milton going, there's more snaps to be taken up. And I do think Jalen Carter needs to take less snaps, man. He was like put into the 99 percentile in terms of snaps last year. And it's pretty bad. You don't want to burn him out. But Regardless, you end up having some really good defensive interior linemen here. I still think that there's the opportunity for you to add another one into that mix. The question is, how much do you want to test Jordan Davis and roll the dice on whether he's going to be worth re-signing or not? Because this is going to be the big determining year. You look at the edge rushers, you got Nolan Smith and Jalex Hunt. Jalex Hunt is like almost identical to Josh Sweat in terms of measurables. It was pretty obvious that he is the developmental guy to take over for Josh Sweat's role. But you still do need somebody else in there. BG, bye-bye. Technically, he was also an odd front interior defensive lineman, but it is what it is. Bryce Huff has been a big disappointment. Could see a team trying to throw a pick his way. And, I know Howie's not the biggest guy to sell low, but sometimes you got to sell when you have too many damn good players. But you also look at the linebacker spot. Zach Bond, I know is an expensive contract. The guy's damn good, and he works so well in the system. It was the right move. Nakobe's hurt, probably going to be hurt for an extensive period of time. Jeremiah Tarr is going to be in the mix. I do think you can end up looking at another linebacker to rotate in there. Orrin Burks ended up doing quite a good job, though, stepping up for Nakobe in that time. You look at the cornerback room, I do think a boundary corner one, or I lied, boundary corner one, you got solved. I do think Cooper DeJean could be moving to the boundary, because if you do look at it, DeJean was listed as a boundary corner when you guys brought him in, and you ended up finding him a good spot at nickel. Of course, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. You might be very comfortable keeping him there. The problem is, because everyone's like, okay, you have Eli Ricks, Keely Ringo. Could you end up having one of them try to compete for that boundary corner 2 spot? You're a Super Bowl champion. You're no longer just trying to rebuild and retain your roster. Your goal is to rebuild and retain a Super Bowl roster. And so with the picks you have, I do think that boundary corner role is better than what Isaiah Rodgers could bring. I do worry that you guys are going to be relatively complacent, though, and try to just bring back Rodgers on a short-term contract. Safety-wise, Reed, he's somebody who's literally on the leadership council, if I'm not mistaken. So he's going to be around. People don't want to admit it, but he's going to be around for a while. But depth safety absolutely needs to be in the consideration. Chauncey he's not up for a contract. He's going to be there. So people trying to go safety too early, I think it's a little bit premature. So I do think nickel / boundary, depending on the value. Edge rusher for sure, defensive interior. Those are the positions I'm going to be looking at. Obviously a depth linebacker, unless you can bring Orrin Burks back. And then on the offensive line, a depth offensive guard, maybe another depth receiver for you as well. And then, tight end too. So it's not many issues. Let's just fill the holes with proper value. And of course, you can end up having that heir apparent for Lane Johnson. But looking at the options available, again, you're not going to be spending this pick on Gray Zabel, Matt Golden. Not going to happen. I don't think Derek Harmon should be the pick either. I don't think that you should be giving up right away on Jordan Davis. Now, you could go Tyleik Williams here, but I do think by going after maybe Omar Norman Lott down the line, that's a much better idea because he needs a year to develop and get into that rhythm. So, personally, that's where my head is at. Developing offensive tackle is just not worth that first pick. Your goal is to maintain, not to, kind of give up and, just kind of take what's there. So the players that I'm looking at right now, I want players who could be an outside linebacker who also have the ability on an even front when you go into nickel packages, because you do it a lot, to play with their hand in the dirt. To me, that's going to be Braden Swinson. Nick Scorton, you could do that, but I don't trust Nick Scorton to be in a 2-point consistently in the NFL. I think Nick Scorton, even at that 260 frame, deserves to be in an even front. And while you guys have that role, and it's perfectly fine if you do execute that option, I still have my concern. I do think Braden Swinson is going to be my leader at the spot. You guys see exactly what I think of him. I love him to death. He's incredible. And my dream pick here is either Braden Swinson or Donovan Ezuraku. Ezuraku has a higher floor than Braden Swinson, just based on, production, athleticism, etc. Even though Braden Swinson, he ain't no slouch, right? He had 9 sacks in the SEC with over 50 pressures. I think it was 59 pressures. This dude's fucking awesome. All right. People just don't know the name. That's why they don't like the pick. But Braden Swinson fits this team to a T. He can play an outside linebacker role. I already know my girl Marina is going to be complaining about his straight line speed. You can't get guys who are 4'6" all the time. You're getting someone who's a master technician, and you're getting someone who has a lot of power, and he can also play in the even front. He's 255 pounds with 33 and 3/8" arms. This is a guy who's worth it. Now, if you want to go boundary corner Trey Amos, who you've met with, I do think that's not a bad idea. But I do see a player in the nickel that I feel comfortable taking at 129 that I prefer to do. So we're going to go after Braden Swinson at number 32 and give you my favorite player in the draft. At 64, I've taken Ursary now a couple times in a row. I don't think I can do that again. But Ursary is perfect. He is perfect for what you guys are trying to do. I'm going to pray that Belton falls to 96. That's going to be my pick 96. So we're getting ahead of the gun there. I think at this point, with Ben Morrison, you took multiple injury-prone players last year. I've only taken him a couple of times so far in the entire mock drafts that I've done. I think Ben Morrison is worth the swing here. You guys take players, I mean, Cooper DeJean coming off a leg break, right? Like, I think this is right. This is the right move. We're going to go after Ben Morrison here. I like that. We're going to go heavy defense. And then here, fucking beautiful. Anthony Belton's going to be trained up because he also has that right tackle flexibility. This is a guy who's built to be a Philadelphia Eagle. He's mean. He's a mauler. He's perfect to develop for a whole year. And, I mean, he spit on some dude. That's just a savage thing. That's built for Philly. There's just some dogs on this team, and Anthony Belton is going to be one of them. I think in the second round, I was legitimately wanting to take him. So, great pickups there. Again, we've got Swinson, Morrison, and Belton, all my guys. So, you can say that since this is my last one that I'm doing, I'm going to be deploying my guys here and there, left, right, and center. But at number 29, we already got our boundary corner. We already got our edge. I think defensive interior here, we can end up looking at the options. Oof, we got fucked. Damn, we got absolutely railed. Holy Toledo. That's okay. I mean, honestly, I'm not really too worried. At this point, I mean, at 162 is where I want to take Jalen Smith, so I'm going to hold off on that. You could try to go, Elijah Huzzy's a baller if you want to go him for the nickel. But I want to go someone who's really high-end in zone, and Zy Alexander is, but Jalen Smith is as well. And I'm not going to take him here, but looking at other players that we could end up going after, tight end wise, I mean, it's pretty underwhelming. I would go after Luke Lachey later on rather than anything. Running back wise, I mean, you could try to go after a running back here in Trevor Etienne and basically replace Kenny Gainwell. If we want to go on that thought process, not a bad idea. But I will go after a linebacker here as well. I know we were talking about that earlier. And you can go Danny Stutzman, Jay Higgins, or Jack Kaiser. Different builds entirely. But I think Jack Kaiser is going to be a solid player here. And he does have that coverage ability that I like a lot. I'm going to go after Jack Kaiser. And I honestly don't think I think he's a solid fit. And it's just good value. Oh, don't do that to me. Oh, Trevor. We got to go Trevor Etienne at this point. There's no guarantee that you guys bring back Kenny Gainwell. And to be fair, Trevor Etienne, the value's too good, man. I mean, this guy's my RB1 starting out the year. So I'm going to go after Trevor Etienne there. And at number 166, please say that we have Jalen Smith available. And we do. Jalen Smith, one of my favorite players in the class, top 15 for me. I got to meet him in Mobile. Excellent person as well. I think that he's still working in terms of like his quarters coverage, but he's played multiple years in the slot and a year on the boundary, took a jump up on the boundary, but he's a physical defender, really good versus the run, which is going to be great in the nickel if you do want to end up having him go to that role and have Coop on the boundary. But this player plays very well on the boundary. As my boy Bro Schmo says, he is piss and vinegar versus the run. He is physical as hell. He is fluid as hell. This is a my guy for sure. We're going to go after Jalen Smith. And at 169, you already know how he's going to be trading these picks. You already know that we're going to be moving up and down the board, but we can't do that in this series. Could go after Emory Jones right now just for the value, but I mean, it's a weird way that the board fell to where I'm like, there's not really much that's too exciting here. Like, you got Caden Prather. Ty Felton's actually not a bad one. This is a Slim Reaper backup. That's actually really good. I think that he's going to go in this range as well, rather than like where he is on Trev's board. So I'm going to go after Ty Felton here. I do like the separation that he develops. Like, he's just a good player, and you can have him on the boundary as well. We're going to go Ty Felton at number 169. Could have gone after a safety there if you do like. I'm not going to complain too much if you guys would prefer that. Feel free to adjust that last pick. But bottom line, we ended up getting some key contributors. Braden Swinson has the arm length that you're looking for. If you don't love him, just watch him, please. It's incredible. This guy's an absolute savage. Ben Morrison, you already rolled the dice before on injury-prone players per the Giants draft board on HBO. Like, feel free to go check that out. But guys listed in red have some injury concerns. You guys had multiple. So I'm going to trust that as well to be able to get the best player available. Anthony Belton's going to be a potential starting guard for Becton's spot. But on top of that, he is the heir apparent at that right tackle spot. Jack Kaiser, great linebacker depth. Trevor Etienne, Kenny Gainwell replacement. Jalen Smith, literally Isaiah Rodgers, like, but better in my opinion. And then you got Ty Felton, who's going to be a Slim Reaper backup. I just love how this ended up turning out. Let me know what you guys would have done. Thank you so much for watching and supporting me through this whole series. Enjoy free agency. See you on the far side. Peace.